Beyond the Wall. Beyond the Wall is a general term for the northernmost area of Westeros, the lands north of the Wall. Beyond the Wall is a generic term employed by the people of the Six Kingdoms and the Kingdom of the North to refer to the large area of Westeros that lies north of the Wall. It is the only part of the continent that is not part of a realm, and thus the only place where particular attention is given to the difference between Westeros, the continent, and the Six Kingdoms and the Kingdom of the North, the two realms to the south of the Wall. It is inhabited by tribes that refer to themselves as the Free Folk, known by the people of the Six Kingdoms as Wildlings. The Wildlings themselves are not politically unified but consist of numerous and diverse groups. Many are semi-nomadic hunters, due to the impracticality of agriculture in the far north. Some Wildlings are little more than savage and primitive raiders, but other groups live in small settled communities and villages. The Free Folk sometimes refer to these lands as the real North, because they are actually located north of the northernmost kingdom of Westeros, which is named simply the North, and they think it odd to say that the North is south of where they live. Geography. The lands beyond the Wall are primarily wild, untamed and uncharted. The climate is harsh and bitter, especially in the far north in the lands of always winter. The region immediately north of the Wall includes the Haunted Forest, a vast taiga forest which covers most of the area, extending from the Wall to the furthest lands of then. While no true roads exist, numerous game trails, paths, and old streambeds, called ranger roads, are used by the Night's Watch and Free Folk alike. The Haunted Forest extends from the eastern coast to a large mountain chain in the west, the Frost Fangs. These inhospitable mountains extend an unknown distance to the north. Notable features include the Giant Stair and the Skirling Pass. The Milkwater, the great river beyond the Wall, has its origins in the Frost Fangs. Then is a hidden valley in the mountains. Southwest of the Frost Fangs is the Frozen Shore, a narrow strip of land between the mountains and the Bay of Ice. Along the east coast is the Antler River, which flows into the Shivering Sea. The easternmost region beyond the Wall is the forested peninsula Storald's Point, which contains the ruins of the only Free Folk town, Hardhome. Beyond all of these areas, in the furthest north, is the land of always winter. The Haunted Forest ends and gives way to these polar regions, which are unexplored. Animals living beyond the Wall include deer, eagles, elk, hares, rams, shadow cats, snow bears, and wolves. Flowers include cold snaps, frost fires, piper's grass, and wildflowers. Trees include chestnuts, ironwoods, oaks, sentinels, soldier pines, and weirwoods. The lands beyond the Wall are mostly uncharted. The region immediately north of the Wall includes the Haunted Forest, a vast taiga forest which covers most of the area, extending from the Wall to the furthest uncharted north. The forest extends from the eastern coast to a large mountain chain in the west known as the Frost Fangs. The Frost Fangs extend an unknown distance to the north and are quite inhospitable. However, there are rumors that even the northern Frost Fangs contain hidden valleys, heated by volcanic activity, which are actually the most hospitable regions north of the Wall and heavily settled by the Wildlings. Southwest of the Frost Fangs there is a narrow strip of land between the mountains and the sea known as the Frozen Shore, a harsh area inhabited by fierce and primitive warriors who frequently cross the Bay of Ice to raid the lands in the north sworn to House Stark. This small area is totally enclosed by the Frost Fangs, which run southeast to northwest, and the ocean. Beyond all of these areas, in the furthest north are the lands of always winter. The forest ends and gives way to these truly polar regions, which are unexplored. The White Walkers are rumored to originate in the depths of the lands of always winter. People. The people inhabiting the land refer to themselves as the Free Folk, but are known by the people of the Seven Kingdoms as Wildlings. The lands beyond the Wall are bitterly cold year-round, but many Free Folk reside from the furthest reaches of the Haunted Forest to the hidden valleys of the Frost Fangs, including the Valley of Then. The Thens are surrounded by cave dwellers, Hornfoots, Giants, and the Ice River clans. Other tribes include Night Runners and Men of the Frozen Shore. Some Free Folk are little more than savage and primitive raiders, but other groups live in small, settled communities and villages. Due to the impracticality of agriculture in the far north, many of them are hunters. Maesters believe that giants are extinct, but some still live beyond the Wall. A group of children of the forest reside within the Cave of the Three-Eyed Crow. The others are rumored to originate in the depths of the land of always winter. Economy. The Free Folk living north of the Wall have a hardscrabble, survival-based economy with little settled agriculture. Most of their economic activity is fixated on hunting and gathering. They live to catch what they can eat, and they eat whatever they can catch. They use no official currency, as they are more interested in obtaining things that are directly useful to them, and thus function on the barter system. However, the wildlings do engage in at least some long-distance trade. The heavy furs of local animals adapted to the harsh cold of the extreme north are fairly valuable, and they often trade them to passing smuggler ships in exchange for iron weapons, which they cannot forge on their own. In past centuries, the Night's Watch tried to stop the fur iron trade along the coasts, but in recent centuries as their numbers dwindled they abandoned any attempts to prevent passage around the wall by sea. Notable locations: Haunted Forest, Craster's Keep, White Tree, the Fist of the First Men, the Frost Fangs, Skirling Pass, the Milk Water, Lands of Always Winter, Frozen Shore, Storolds Point, the Valley of Then, the Cave of the Three-Eyed Raven, Hardhome. Notable inhabitants: Mance Rayder, the king beyond the wall, leader of the free folk and feared opponent of the Night's Watch. Sentenced to death by fire by Stannis Baratheon, but shot with an arrow as mercy by Jon Snow. Tormund, called Tormund Giantsbane, a wildling leader and one of Mance Rayder's most trusted lieutenants. After the Battle of Castle Black, was once a prisoner of the Night's Watch, now living freely. The Lord of Bones, a wildling leader and a fearsome raider. Killed by Tormund in Hardhome. Styr, Magnar of Then, a notorious and brutal wildling leader. Killed by Jon Snow during the Battle of Castle Black. Magmar Tundoweg, called Mag the Mighty, King of the Giants, killed by Gren and 5 other members of the Night's Watch during the Battle of Castle Black. Orell, a wildling raider and a warg, killed by Jon Snow. Ygritte, a free folk spear wife and lover of Jon Snow. Killed by Ollie during the Battle of Castle Black. Jon Snow, Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, who was seen traveling north with Tormund and his company. At Craster's Keep. Craster, an unsavory ally of the Night's Watch, killed by Carl Tanner during a mutiny. Gilly, his wife and daughter. Sam, their son. Named after Samwell Tarly, Carsey, a female wildling, killed by whites. Loboda, a then, killed by a White Walker. Dim Dalba, a wildling chieftain. In a hidden cave. The Three-Eyed Raven, a greenseer. Killed by the Night King. Leaf, a child of the forest. Sacrificed herself to whites so Bran Stark, Meera Reed and Hodder could escape the cave. At Hardhome. Carsey, a female wildling, killed by whites. Loboda, a then, killed by a White Walker. Dim Dalba, a wildling chieftain. In a hidden cave. The Three-Eyed Raven, a greenseer. Killed by the Night King. Leaf, a child of the forest. Sacrificed herself to whites so Bran Stark, Meera Reed and Hodder could escape the cave. History. Redwyn, a ranger of the Night's Watch, explored from the Shadow Tower to Lorne Point during the reign of Doran Stark, king in the north. Another king, Theon Stark, joined the Night's Watch in a venture north of the Wall which weakened the free folk for a generation. Hardhome was mysteriously destroyed 600 years ago. Brynden Rivers, Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, vanished during a ranging beyond the Wall in 252 AC. It is sometimes suggested that the Lords of the North be allowed to extend their power beyond the Wall to end the threat of wildling raids. Texts about the region include History of the Kings Beyond the Wall by Maester Herrick and Hardhome, an account of 3 years spent beyond the Wall among savages, raiders, and woods witches by Maester Willis. In the books, author George R. R. Martin has stated that the land area inhabited by the free folk beyond the Wall is vast, roughly the size of Canada. There's actually quite a lot of Westeros north of the Wall. It's a large expanse of land, probably as large as Canada. The World of Ice and Fire companion book features a map of Westeros and Western Essos that shows a significant amount of land north of the Wall, possibly extending further east and west as well, backing up the suggestion that the lands beyond the Wall are vast.
If you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later, bye bye.